Welcome back to Over 50. Today I'm going to be looking at some way too early 2022 NFL mock drafts, just looking at where the Kansas City Chiefs are selecting. Going to be mentioning the website or the author of the mock draft, their pick for the Kansas City Chiefs, and then some noticeable players that I think were left on the board that might have been a better fit. Before I continue, please like this video, share this video, subscribe to this video, and please comment and let me know what you think your best pick would be for the Chiefs in 2022, or what you think their need is. Maybe you agree with me, maybe you don't, but I'd like to hear regardless. So please comment and click the notification bell. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to include the website that I got my information from. They have about 30 different mock drafts. I just picked 8 of them, and I'm just talking about the Kansas City Chiefs selection. So let's get started. First, with Walter Football, they have the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl, selecting 32, picking Ventrell Miller, a linebacker out of Florida. I don't hate the pick, but when you look at, according to their mock, with Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson, both wide receivers out of Ohio State, still on the board, I think those guys, I don't see how you would pass up on either one of those two guys. They're just really good, and I think they could make an impact in the Chiefs' offense. Next up, Pro Football Focus, they have the Chiefs selecting 32 and picking another Florida Gator, but this guy is Brendan Cox Jr., an edge rusher. I guess, okay, I personally would like to see the Chiefs go the cornerback route, and when you've got Sevyn Banks still sitting on the board, on their board from Ohio State. Sevyn Banks is a 6'1", 200-pound cornerback, runs a 4.4 40. He came on to as a starter last year. He led in tackles, had more tackles than Shaun Wade did. Had an interception, ran it back for 38 yards in a championship game. He led the team in tackles with 23. I think that guys could have great potential and could really benefit the Chiefs, because cornerback, face it, we need some help for this year. Hopefully we bring Rashad Beelan back. But looking at, in the future, I mean, this guy, I just don't see how you could pass up on him sitting on the board. Next up, Bleacher Report. They are picking George Kalafdis. Hope I'm saying that correctly, from Purdue. Again, another edge rusher. I'm not saying that edge rusher is not important, but I just think cornerback would be better. And again, who's still sitting on the board? Sevyn Banks. So maybe, I like the guy's name, so plus he's a corner and he's got some good stats last year. But of course, we'll have to see what he does in 2021. But if he plays good in 2021, how could you not pick him, in my opinion? Next up, Touchdown Wire, courtesy of USA Today. They also have the Chiefs picking George Kalafdis, an edge rusher from Purdue. Again, on their board, who is sitting there? Cornerback Sevyn Banks. Again, I've already talked about him. I think corner is the way to go. Next up, CBS, Ryan Wilson has the Chiefs selecting Justin Ross, a wide receiver out of Clemson. I don't have a problem with the pick. The only other player that looked interesting, as far as a top player goes, that was still left on the board was George Pickens, a wide receiver from Georgia. So I guess you could take your pick there. Either one of those guys I think would be good. Obviously, someone felt Sevyn Banks was a good choice there because he was not on the board. Next up, Sports Illustrated also has the Chiefs picking 32. Actually, all these websites that I've reviewed have the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl and picking 32. So Sports Illustrated has us taking Lecitus Smith, an interior offensive lineman from Virginia Tech. I don't really think in interior offensive line is really an issue when you look at what we've done in this past draft. Maybe they're predicting LDT to not be around. Maybe they're predicting Joe Thuney to, I don't know. I think at guard and center we're good, especially with Creed Humphreys. So I don't understand this pick. Maybe some of you out there have a better idea as to why they would do that. Go interior offensive line. Again, who's left on the board? Sevyn Banks. And no, I did not go through and just pick out all the websites that had Sevyn Banks left. I tried to pick, as I said, more credible or well-known groups or websites to get my information from. Next up, sporting news. They have us picking Brendan Cox Jr., same pick as Pro Football Focus, the linebacker out of Florida. The only other, and I don't know, I guess you could go either way on this, the only other interesting choice that was still left on the board as far as top prospects goes was Ventrell Miller, and he's also a linebacker at Florida. So I guess take your pick, whichever one you think has the better attributes or the better qualities that you look for in a linebacker. But I'm not upset with the pick. Sevyn Banks wasn't there, so I'm kind of high on that guy. I'm high on any corner. I mean, there's better corners that are going to go in this draft that the Chiefs aren't going to have a shot at unless we decide to trade up. But I really think Sevyn Banks could be a good choice if he's there for us. And finally, DraftKings. They picked Zach Harrison, a defensive lineman out of Ohio State. I guess depending on what happens with Reed that we picked up in the offseason from Seattle, what happens with Noddy, maybe they're anticipating us losing some defensive linemen, and maybe that's why they went with that pick. I guess that's not a bad pick if you're predicting that that's what's going to happen. We're going to lose defensive linemen. Go get one. I'm not mad at it. Again, who's still left on the board? You probably figured it out by now. Sevyn Banks. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this video short. It's already over 6 minutes. I don't have the ability to record videos other than the way I am, so please don't hammer me on that. But if you have any suggestions for how I could make this better, I greatly appreciate it. Put that in the comments section. Also, please comment on what you think the Chiefs' biggest need is and what player you like in the 2022 NFL Draft. And I will talk to you guys later.